Guys, we need your help. We have a ton of work coming up on the property. We have water lines to dig in, conduit for power, we have driveway gravel, all these things. And the thought of it is just starting to get a little overwhelming to me. And we kind of decided, or at least I kind of decided, we're gonna need a tractor for this because the amount of rentals that it would take to do all this work could easily pay for the cost of a monthly payment on a tractor. So I've really been doing a lot of research on compact tractors. I really think that's the range that'll work well for us. So I'm looking at New Holland, Kubota, Kioti, and possibly Bobcat. Though I know the Bobcat is pretty much made by Kioti, or at least Kiotie's parent company. So let's get into some of the details on the computer, and maybe you guys can help us decide which one to get. I put together this Google spreadsheet here to kind of try and compare some of the most important features, at least some of the features that I think are most important when it comes to a tractor. So like I said before, we are looking at a compact series tractor, so not a subcompact. This would be kind of your just slightly larger version than the subcompact. And the ones we're looking at now are right in the 25 to 26 horsepower region. Anytime you're over that, you have to consider emissions add-ons. And from what I've heard and listened to and read and looked at on YouTube, by going with a larger horsepower engine, you're not really necessarily gaining that much more capability. Your loader lift capability is about the same. Your backhoe capability is about the same. The big difference is in PTO horsepower. So if you have an implement that's really large, say 6 feet wide or 7 feet wide, or if it's a really tough job like you're doing some tilling into some really tough soil, that's where the higher horsepower can really benefit you. The four models that I really have looking at here are the Bobcat C 2025, the Kubota B 2601, the New Holland Workhorse 25, and the Kioti CK 2610 HST. Just to clarify, all of these that we're looking at are HST models, so they're not manual, they're hydrostatic transmissions. Looking at the horsepower as primary indicator, these are all really, really close, and you can see my color coding here. I generally marked green as the best in class, orange as middle of the road, and red as worst in class, or at least worst of the four comparisons. And looking at the horsepower, all four are really, really close. They're all within, 0.5 horsepower of each other, so I'm not really worried too much about that comparison necessarily. When it comes to the rear PTO horsepower, that's a little bit of a different story. The Bobcat comes in at 22.2, and then the New Holland's way down there at 19. So it's interesting how much power loss there is from this 24.7 base horsepower down to 19 PTO horsepower. So that kind of talks to a little bit of the efficiency of the gearbox. At least that's how I consider it. The loader rating here, this is at full height at the pins. The Kioti really comes in way ahead of everybody with at least a couple 100 pounds more than the closest competitor, which is the New Holland Workhorse. And then that's followed by the Bobcat and then the Kubota last. And if I get any of these numbers wrong, I'm going off spec sheets as much as I can, and some of the terminology can be slightly different from one brand to the next. So if any of these numbers are way off, please let me know, because I do not want to be comparing apples to oranges. I really want to be going off the same numbers as much as possible. An important feature for us is having quick detaches, and this line here, this row, is for the entire loader itself, so being able to set the loader down, pull the pins, and completely take the loader off. That's a little bit different from this skid steer quick attach. This is something that we also really want to have, and I was unable to find if Kubota had this as a stock feature or if this was a purchase add-on. But the other manufacturers seem to have it as a standard option. Now I'm going to go back up here real quick to lift height. This is from the ground to the pins at full height. And again, here the Kioti really comes ahead. It's 3 inches higher than the Bobcat and a couple more inches higher than the New Holland. And the Kubota again seems to be really low for this comparison. So maybe, hey, I'm comparing the wrong model. Maybe I should be going up to an L model in the Kubota. But I was really trying to stay in the 25 to 30,000 price range for the whole package. So again, if you think I'm comparing the wrong models and you think one would be better than the other, please leave a note down in the comments. Going down here to bucket width, the Kioti and New Holland both have 66-inch wide buckets. The Bobcat has a 60 and the Kubota has a 54. They also have a 60 available, but from what I could tell, it was for light loads, not heavy loads. So I'm not sure about that. The 54-inch seemed to be the only heavy load bucket that was available. Now the PTO lift, this is the rear lift capability. The Bobcat and the Kioti come in right at 1631 exactly, and that kind of makes a little bit of sense because Kioti's parent brand makes the Bobcat for them. The New Holland comes in at 1433 and then the Kubota 1411. Those two numbers are really close together, so giving one orange versus red, you know, it might be a little harsh seeing the Kubota in red, but it's almost comparable to the New Holland. Going down to weight, this weight number is without any attachments, so this is no loader and no backhoe or anything like that. So this is just the base tractor. The Kioti comes in at 2701. The New Holland and Bobcat are in the 24 to 2600, and the Kubota is at 1632. Now weight can really be helpful when you have a large load in the front bucket. You don't want to have any tipping issues. It also helps with traction. Now Mid PTO, this is generally used for a mower attachment. I don't necessarily see us ever buying a Mid PTO or a mid-mount mower, especially if we look at the Kioti. The Kioti, you can't mount a mid-mower. You can only do rear motor and front mower. But the Mid PTO can also be used for front mount PTO-driven snowplows, or snow blowers, I should say. So the New Holland and Kubota both are 2,500 RPM. The Kioti is 2,000 RPM, and the Bobcat comes in just under 2,000 RPM. All four of these models have a 3-level HST range, so that's low, mid, and high. For hydraulic flow, Kioti only gives the number for the total flow, and that's 11.3 gallons per minute. The other three manufacturers give the flow numbers that are dedicated to the implement, so that's taking the factor of power steering out. So I think this 11.3 is a little bit inflated compared to the other three, because if you were to subtract the power steering from this, it would probably be more comparable to that. But that number is unavailable in any spec sheets that I've been able to find. This floating bucket feature, this is something I wasn't able to find any documentation for Kubota and New Holland about it, but basically with the Kioti and the Bobcat, you can press the control lever all the way forward and it'll just drop the bucket and run on gravity. So if you're trying to do some back leveling or anything like that, you're not putting hydraulic pressure down onto the ground, you're just using the bucket weight. Max forward speed, again, it was a little bit hard to find some of these numbers. The Bobcat seems like it hauls butt at 14.4. Kubota and New Holland are in the 12 to 13 range. And then Kioti, their website says 10.08 miles per hour, but then if I look at tractor data and a couple YouTube sites, they say upwards of 14 or 15. So I really don't know what number to trust there. If you guys know for sure, please leave a comment down below. On the bumper-to-bumper warranty, everyone seems to give a 2-year warranty, but then when it comes to powertrain, there's a huge difference. The Bobcat's only 2 years, the Kubota and Kioti are 6 years, and the New Holland kind of falls in the middle at 4 years. The backhoe size, these are all generally around 7 foot. The New Holland and Bobcat, their documentation wasn't great on trying to find the specific numbers on some of these. I'm trying to get more information as I can, and I'll post that in the comments or in the description below as I get those numbers. First remote hydraulics. These are included from what I can tell on New Holland and Kubota, so that would be rear remote hydraulics. Kioti for this model, I believe, is optional, and the same with the Bobcat. As far as tires go, I'm looking at probably the R4 tires, but Kubota also offers an option for R14 tires, which we're doing. It's mostly weeds right now and clay, and we're going to be running gravel and things like that. So I think the R4s are probably going to be our best bet, but if you guys think different, please let me know. Ground clearance, Kioti comes ahead again on ground clearance, 13.4. Now, when you attach the backhoe mount, there's like this semi-permanent bracket that you bolt underneath. You lose a few inches there. I think it was 2 or 3 inches. So this number really goes down to around 10 or 11 once you take that bracket into account. Now, the numbers down here are all kind of MSRPs that I've put together as best I can. Kioti doesn't have a build and quote feature on their website, so I wasn't able to piece all the parts together, and I think this number is low. I'm reaching out to a couple dealers to get real numbers on this. But on MSRP, the New Holland comes in the highest at $30,000, followed by the Bobcat at $29,000, Kubota $27,000, and then Kioti $24,000. And these include the loader and the backhoe. Now, some features that I think I really want to include are cruise control, linked pedal kit, so that basically allows you to feather the floor pedal to adjust your RPM range instead of having to rely on the hand controls. I definitely want rear remotes, have to have that for the backhoe. Front remotes are kind of an option for me, something we may put in later, especially if we do any kind of hydraulically controlled snowplow or snow blower. Kioti offers a premium 3-point linkage. That does entice me a little bit because it makes hooking up any of the 3-point attachments a little bit easier. For a backhoe, I really think a backhoe thumb would come in handy, especially if we have to move some large rocks. Luckily, we don't have any trees that we have to deal with, but rocks might be a problem. The canopy, I think, is definitely a must. We get a lot of snow in the winter, and we get over 100-degree temperatures in the summer, so I think protecting the controls, protecting the seat, and then also obviously protecting me as an operator is going to be really important. Rubber floor mats, that's kind of a take it or leave it, but I think it would be a kind of a nice feature to have. And then armrests, I think at least one armrest on the right where the control lever would be really important. Now, when it comes to implements or attachments, there are 3 additional attachments other than the loader and the backhoe that I'm considering, and that would be the skid steer quick attach forks, box blade for the back for grading gravel, and then some front tire chains. I've heard that front tire chains actually perform really well when you're in 4-wheel drive, and they're way cheaper than having to buy those huge chains for the rear tires. Now, on top of all this, we're looking at possibly getting a trailer, and this is the link for the trailer. Now, I don't expect us having to move this tractor all that much, but we also have a UTV, and we also want to get gravel and get compost and those sort of things. So I think a trailer is eventually going to be a requirement for us. I'm looking at this BigTex 70 TV tandem axle, and if this will work for hauling the tractor, I think it'll be the best bet. It has a load capacity of just over 5,000 pounds, and the tractor fully loaded with the loader and backhoe is about 4,500 pounds. So it's pretty close to maxing out the trailer, but it's an enclosed trailer, or not an enclosed trailer, it has a walled-in trailer, so it would let us pick up loads of gravel, pick up loads of compost, things of that sort, and it's also plenty big for hauling the UTV. So let me know if that trailer is something that's a good option. I know an equipment trailer would probably be the best bet, but those wouldn't really help us in getting loads of materials that we want to get. Okay, I think that does it for all the nitty-gritty details, but leave comments below if there's anything that we missed or any questions that we should ask at the dealership when we go next week. If you haven't already subscribed, please do, and hit that like button. Thanks, everybody.